Hey everybody, today I'm going to talk to you about visual synthesis. It's going to be a tough one. If you like this video, please hit the like button and make sure you subscribe for the new videos that'll come out. You'll get an alert every time I post one and it'll help this channel. So I've been asked by a few people to describe how I do visual synthesis or how I take complex information and boil it down into something simple. I'm going to try to explain that in this video, but I'll just preface it by saying it's one of those things that is quite intuitive, which I know everyone hates to hear. So it is hard to break down. It's like when you draw a picture and people ask, like, how did you do that? It's quite hard to explain how you did it. You just kind of did it. But getting to the point where you can just kind of do it does take a lot of practice, and it does take some fundamentals. So I'll try to break today's conversation down into those fundamentals. And then I'll just say that you should practice, because really that is the key to being able to do this. It's just doing it so much that it becomes intuitive and second nature. Synthesis is the process of taking lots of different information, connecting it and distilling it into simple, punchy, and effective key messages. And that is the fundamental of graphic recording. It's the fundamental of making infographics. It's the fundamental of good writing and note-taking as well. So even if you're not a visual practitioner, this concept of synthesis is something that I'm sure you also are trying to master and keen on learning more about. The key to synthesis is connecting like ideas and then clustering those, coming up with the key message that encapsulates those. So today I'll sort of give an example of that visually, starting with something simple and showing you how that can be clustered into a story that is simple and concise. So why do we do synthesis? First of all, it's so we can better understand things. When we have a lot of information and it's complex information, it's hard for us to get the point and then remember the point. But by taking all the common messages, clustering them, simplifying them, and then basically cutting until you have just what's essential, you create points that are reiterated, that are consolidated, and that are easy to remember. That's the easiest way for an audience to remember what you're talking about. Part of the benefit of synthesis is that you're sort of creating a story. You can start to weave basically connections between concepts and keep a story. And when we have sort of a narrative arc, our brains can better respond, relate, and remember things. So I would describe visual synthesis as 4 basic steps. The first step is to find your key messages. So to find key messages, what you have to do is look at different parts of your story or different parts of your various themes, all of your different content, and start to pull out what's most important. For example, when you're taking a note, you want to take down the bare essential of what is being said and try to remove as much as you can of it without fully losing the meaning. So you basically are keeping the one thing that keeps the message intact and cutting everything else. That's how you find your key messages. So next is to find common themes or cluster. There's a lot of different ways of saying this, but basically when you have all your key messages out there, you're going through the same process of removing and putting together common elements. So you're trying to see which of these key messages kind of say the same thing but slightly differently. And what I would do is put those together. Based on that, can you think of a new message that brings these 2 different concepts together? If you can do that, you can just use that one key message to encapsulate several. And if you can't, then you probably have more than one key message in there. So the next thing to do would be to connect and prioritize themes in manner of importance. So you might have a hierarchy of key messages. You might have one thing that is essential and then 2 other sub-messages that are related to that key theme but aren't as important. When you're visually demonstrating that, you can do that with scale. The more important message will be bigger, and the smaller themes that are related to it will be smaller. And then using things like arrows or shapes or clouds, you can kind of put those together so the ideas are still linked visually. You also want to see if there's cross-cutting themes, because there might be ideas that link to different key messages, and you might want to visually demonstrate that. One thing might be leading to another, one thing might be dependent on the other, and you can use different visual tools, again, things like arrows or even more figurative things like a mountain or a path, to show one thing leading to the other or something building up to another thing. But those can help link those two ideas in terms of a progression or an interdependency. Another way of playing on hierarchy is just where you put information on the page based on how you read the page. And again, that'll depend on what language you speak or what alphabet you use. So number 4, and it's probably the one thing that makes visual synthesis different than just note-taking, and that's just making it pretty. You can do that through just simple iconography, simple arrows, simple shapes, or you can do that through something more figurative. If you do see a narrative progression in the story, you might want to set a scene. If this is a story that is a bit of a journey or things happen within a chronology, you might want to show a visual journey as well. You could do a path with different things happening around it. But this sort of prettying part is really dependent on you getting that initial synthesis part right. And I think what's super important is that the synthesis part is not visually dependent. Like, you don't need to be an artist to be able to do synthesis. You just need to be able to approach new information in a way that is basically like putting it in a funnel, taking all the stuff that's not important out and streamlining it into the most important messages. You don't need to be good at drawing to be good at synthesis. You need to be good at listening and good at critical thinking. I hope that these points can help you get some sort of essential approaches to synthesis. So then as you continue on your journey, you can practice these things, maybe find other tips and tricks as well, share them with your community, which would be awesome, and just get better at it. I think a lot of the time we want to put all the information possible into a thing because we're worried it'll lose impact if we lose information. But I really think clear, punchy, simple stories actually have a lot more impact with people. So I hope this was a helpful video for you. It was definitely the toughest video for me to make, probably the toughest thing for me to explain. If there's anything from this that's still unclear or you want to learn more about, please do post questions in the comments. I totally check those. And I 100% would love to make videos that respond to those specific needs. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and please subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos on visuals of all kinds.